Legendary musician Phil Collins and his group Genesis are preparing for another reunion tour, but it appears as if Phil isn't up to playing the drums. Instead, his son will be taking drum duties. 70-year-old Phil says he can no longer hold a drumstick, a revelation that comes at the cusp of numerous health ailments over the years. Join Facts First as Phil Collins gives us a devastating health update. Phil Collins initially rose to fame during the 70s as drummer of the classic rock group Genesis. Following this, Phil capitalized on his success with the group by making a name for himself as a popular solo performer. Recently, it's been announced Phil is once again planning to take the stage alongside Genesis to perform what will likely be the band's last tour ever. Phil is now 70 and suffering from numerous health problems. While even the healthiest 70-year-old is liable to have some issues, Phil's aberrant lifestyle choices have caused him to age a good deal faster than many of his peers. In addition to substance abuse, Phil has also practiced a lack of hygiene that has apparently had many negative effects on his personal well-being. If many of Phil's health issues can be tied to substance abuse, many others can be tied to an injury he suffered during a prior tour. In 2007, Phil was touring with Genesis when he suffered a back injury that changed his life forever. Although he's undergone successful operations following the injury, he likely will never be able to fully recuperate. The injury has caused plenty of nerve damage, and this is the main reason he's no longer able to hold a drumstick. Phil's son will be taking drumming duties for the upcoming Genesis tour. Phil has had to accept he won't be able to play the drums alongside his son in any capacity, however much he may want to. Still, he's planning to put on as good of a show as he possibly can, especially given the fact this is most likely going to be their last tour. The injury that Phil received during the 2007 Genesis tour saw him dislocate a vertebra in his upper neck. This severely affected his ability to move his hands, and also had other detrimental effects related to his nervous system. Even after a successful operation on his neck, the musician still found himself unable to move his hands properly. After this, he simply started coming to terms with the fact that things might arguably never return to the way they'd been. This caused Phil to finally make the decision to hire on his son as a replacement as the drummer of Genesis, leading to an official announcement to Genesis fans. In the announcement, Phil expressed he was saddened by the fact he could no longer play the drums, instead choosing to maintain a positive outlook on the reality of growing old. Phil's newly limited range of motion as a result of his spinal injury has led many Genesis fans to falsely assume the former drummer suffered a stroke. However, Phil has been adamant that all the damage we see was caused by his 2007 injury. In addition to the effects the injury had on his hands, it has also affected the use of his legs and feet. Besides the problems Phil has suffered in relation to his back injury, he's also suffered many problems related to alcoholism. Phil has had many periods where he was addicted to alcohol. Though he's recovered multiple times, he's also continuously relapsed. In 2012, he was hospitalized with an acute case of pancreatitis after his drinking habit had kicked back into full force, one time too many. According to Phil, it only takes him a couple of months to fall into a period where he's drinking hard alcohol out of the fridge every morning and passing out in front of his kids. Phil has claimed he's extremely lucky to have lived through his bouts of alcoholism due to the extreme damage that's been done to his organs. Although his rampant alcoholism has never been directly linked to his injury, his years of alcohol abuse at that point had likely left his body severely weakened. Hey, if you're enjoying this video so far, be sure to give it a like and subscribe to Facts First if you haven't already, and stick around for more about Phil Collins. In 2019, Phil was spotted having to use a wheelchair to get around. However, he's gradually been able to get out of the wheelchair and start getting around with just the aid of a walking stick. According to the musician, he has multiple screws in his back that have made his feet go numb. Recently, his daughter was married in Colorado. The ceremony occurred in September of 2021. Though it hasn't been specified whether or not her father was in attendance, the relationship between Phil and his Lily has never been quite what either would have likely hoped for. Still, both have tried to maintain an amicable relationship over the years despite the damage that's been done. Lily is currently 32 and says she's never been happier. If Lily is happier than ever in her new relationship with husband Charlie McDowell, her father is likely lonelier than ever with his recent second divorce from third wife Orianne Kevy. After divorcing once previously in 2006, Phil and Orianne had reunited in the 2010s, only to divorce again recently, with Orianne having found a new partner. Their second divorce led to a variety of court proceedings that are still ongoing. The two have children together and share many mutual assets. So far, the court proceedings have brought about many shocking revelations about Phil's personal habits, including his lack of hygiene. The news they were getting separated a second time broke when Phil applied for a court order requiring Orianne to vacate the Miami residence the two had been sharing since 2016. When asked for a reason, Phil claimed Oriane had been secretly married to another man behind his back. While Oriane certainly is married to a new man, she gives a slightly different account. Over the course of their tumultuous relationship, Phil and Oriane have been together for over a quarter of a century. That's about half of Oriane's life. Understandably, this made the decision to finally separate from Phil hard for her to make, but her new love interest helped her through it. He's a much younger musician, though a much less successful one. According to Oriane, the two bonded over their shared taste in the arts. Phil and Oriane met for the first time in 1994. At the time, Phil was touring Switzerland, and Oriane was hired on to be his personal translator. The two kicked off a friendship and eventually became engaged 3 years later. They married for the first time in 1999 and had 2 sons. In 2006, they divorced for the first time. Famously, Phil and Oriane's 2006 divorce yielded the latter party the biggest divorce settlement in the history of British show business. Phil was able to entice Oriane back into their marriage by offering her 50% interest in the home they were going to be sharing together. Oriane took the offer, but other life circumstances had also likely played a part in inspiring her to take a risk on her ex-husband. Shortly before they got back together, Oriane had suffered an injury that resulted in her becoming paralyzed from the neck down. Oriane had gone in for routine neck surgery, and the surgeon accidentally made a mistake that caused her to become paralyzed. Oriane had feared she was never going to move again, but one day magically found she was able to move one of her toes. From there, it's been a gradual battle for the woman to relearn how to move. Alongside struggling to get the feeling back in her body, Oriane was also struggling to rekindle her romance with Phil. But Phil's own health problems, as well as continuing problems with substance abuse, made this hard. Oriane has said she tried to make it work for years with Phil, but couldn't take it anymore. Phil became so withdrawn he didn't even notice when Oriane left to be with another man. Oriane said she informed Phil about her new relationship long before tying the knot. Oriane and her new, much younger husband got married in Las Vegas at the Graceland Wedding Chapel. The court proceedings between Phil and Oriane are ongoing, though Oriane has expressed she wishes they could settle out of court. In the meantime, Genesis fans can look forward to seeing Phil at least one more time on tour. Now it's time to hear from you. Comment down below to share if you were shocked to learn about the tragic state of Phil's current physical and emotional health. And before you go, make sure you give this video a like and subscribe to Facts First if you haven't already. Click the bell icon to stay updated on all our latest content.